Alrighty. Cool. I'm ready to go when you are. Hello and welcome to the Warrior House podcast, where everything's made up and the points don't matter. I'm your host, Ryan Reingart, joined by my co-host, Mike Sangster. Thanks for joining us on Whose Line Is It Anyway? Nope, this is the Warrior House podcast. This is where Warrior Pride lives, and this is episode number 91. I had to bamboozle you, Sangster.
Does Gen Z know about whose line is it anyway?
We should post it out there and see who does. We'll get this clip and we'll put it on TikTok and Instagram and we'll check the comments to see if anybody knows what that is.
I think the millennials might. I'm not sure about Gen Z, but or Gen Alpha, whatever we're on now. But
Yeah.
it's a beautiful day out today.
It is a very beautiful day, and we have a absolute ton to talk about. So much has happened over the last week. We're recording on Tuesday. We'll just say it was because we wanted to get more results in before we recorded this episode, but that's not actually the reason. Just a lot of stuff going on this week. But let's start out saying, so we got some men's tennis. They were down in Florida. I would say I'm jealous of them, but I'm be honest with you, it's been 60 and sunny here, so we got a little bit of we're doing
Got a
okay
little
here.
bit of
So
Florida here.
well, just a little bit. So our tennis team was down in Florida, taking on a number of different teams. Starting back last Wednesday, they were taking on Ave Maria University. Wayne State was able to win that match 5-1. Interesting note here: there was no doubles point in this match, so it was just six single matches, and the only match that Ave Maria won was in extra points. So we were pretty close to sweeping that team. Rolling right into Thursday, Wayne State took on number 5 ranked Barry, and Barry won this one 4-1. There was a doubles point in this one, so Wayne State was able to win this one, and that was it. The matches that weren't completed weren't looking fantastic for Wayne State. So nod to Barry, they're a very good team. Friday, Wayne State takes on number 7 ranked Rollins, and Wayne State gets the win here. So they took the anger of that last game match against Barry and just rolled right in and won that one 4-3. Rollins did get the doubles point in this one, but Wayne State won 4 singles matches with the fourth match. They're really the tiebreaker of this one to put Wayne State over the edge. Tom Wasner won that one in the third set. So he went down to the wire against his opponent from Rollins and got the big win there. Sunday, Wayne State takes on number 10 ranked Embry Riddle. Embry Riddle won this one 5-2. Wayne State got the doubles point, and Sam Knowles got the singles point for Wayne State. Good news in this one: most of the single matches that Embry Riddle won were in the third set. So Wayne State was pretty close in this one, even though 5-2 total score doesn't make you feel that way. It was a close one here. And then closing it out just very recently, Wayne State took on number 3 ranked Flagler, and Flagler won 4-0. I'm going to say Wayne State's tired and ready to go home. That's a lot of matches against a ton of top 10 ranked teams. And to be able to get, you know, what a win in that one when you're in the home state for most of these teams and get the win that you would hope to see, which I guess Ave Maria, you would have, I guess, expected the Wayne State men's tennis team was able to win that one. They did. So, they're coming back from this trip, 2-3 record. Probably not what they wanted, but to be honest with you, man, a lot of those games in there, they were in the thick of it with some of these teams.
Yeah, what's really interesting is that against the top five, top 10 teams, Wayne State ends up losing the doubles point in the game that they won against Rollins, but in all of the matches that they lost, they ended up getting the doubles point. So,
Yeah.
except in that game against Flagler, but against Embry Riddle and Barry, they end up getting the doubles point. But it's just in those singles matches that they kind of got shut down.
Yeah, so really good. I will say it was a good trip for this team. I was not expecting them to run the table and beat all of these teams, and the fact that they got a win against them, and like you said, saying so, there's some good things to be had in that one. That Embry Riddle one's a really, really kind of cool one to me because it just shows how close they were to being able to get the win there. And even though you end up losing 2-5, you were right in it and pretty close to being able to break through. So good stuff for them. Really quick on the women's tennis team, because I know we have a lot to talk about. They were also down in Florida. Saturday, they took on Kaiser University in Boca Raton. Kaiser wins this one 6-1. Honestly, this was almost a shutout win. Malaka Arafat gets the lone point for Wayne State and extra points in the third set. So it was that close to just a really big time Kaiser University win. Sunday, Wayne State women's tennis, they take on Barry, who is number one ranked in the country, and Barry wins this one 6-0. I think this was another one of those where there was no doubles point. So Barry's really good, just a very solid team. And then on Tuesday, the women's tennis team takes on number two ranked Nova Southeastern. Nova won this one 5-0. I wish I could tell you what's going on with the scoring. I don't really know. But again, Nova's very good. These are teams that Wayne State has played for the last couple of seasons, I want to say, and they show up in most of them. So, we'll talk a little bit more about tennis here in the second half of this episode, but there's nothing that the world is not on fire with these couple of matches for the tennis teams. I mean, they went down, they played some very good teams, bless you, Sangster, and they get to come back and we'll talk a little bit about conference play, but that's what we got for tennis there, Sangster.
And one more point on the excuse me, on the women's side, they haven't really played a lot of matches yet. And to go
No, they
ahead,
have not. Yeah, you're all
and they're
right.
playing the number one and number two teams in the nation.
Yeah.
That's wild.
Yeah. Yeah, it's very wild. I mean, I remember we made a point about that just a couple episodes ago that the men's tennis team was just stacking up matches left and right, and the women's tennis team wasn't really. So I still don't really know what that's about. Don't know if that's going to be something that's changed. I don't know if that's a strategy, whatever it is. This is a team that we will be following. We know that they're going to be one to watch as we get into conference play. So rolling in, we got the Wayne State women's basketball team. The GLIAC quarterfinals happened, Sangster, and it started out at home. The Wayne State women's basketball team got a home match in there. They got to take on Parkside. Wayne State wins that one 65-52. Yeah, you got it right. You got it right here where Parkside had their moments, but Wayne State really handled their business. Ended up kind of running with this one in the second half, third quarter, fourth quarter, let's say it that way, and got the win. The one that I think before we spoiler alert, I think they really needed this one in order to get into the NCAA tournament. They got this one, and I think that truly is the one that locked them in.
Yeah, and all around, it was an excellent game played by Wayne State. Great shooting aside from the free throw line, 50% from three, nearly 50% from the field, uh, limiting turnovers, keeping them at a pretty average mark, 13, forcing them on Wisconsin Parkside side, 14 as well. Uh, Overall, just a great game played by Wayne State, and against, again, like I said, a Parkside team that they had their moments, they made it close, and at the end of the day, Wayne State was able to handle their own business on their own home court.
Well, the Parkside team that honestly knew that they also needed that win in order to be considered for the NCAA tournament. Again, spoiler alert, Wisconsin Parkside's not in it. This was a big time loss for them. I think they ended up as the 10th ranked team and the top eight make it in. At least it kind of looks like that was the case. So they had a lot to play for. Wayne State
Yeah.
did too, but I think Parkside had a lot more to lose here and they lost it. So it was a big time moment. That's exactly when your experienced teams, your well-coached teams need to show up and make wins like that happen when you're going against a team that's thinking the same thing. So good stuff for them. And then Grand Valley, Sangster, Wayne State moves on into the semifinals for the GLIAC tournament. They get to go out to Grand Valley, and we made it out there as well. Kind of a last-minute decision for us. We decided, we woke up in the morning, the weather was pretty nice. Why not head on out to Grand Valley and check out the situation out there, root on the Wayne State Warriors. Grand Valley is a very good team. And it doesn't really pain me all that much to say because you can see it when they're on the court, and there's no doubting that they are a very good team. Grand Valley wins this one 78-54. We showed up a couple minutes into the first quarter of this game, and Wayne State really had it kind of going in the first quarter. They were tied 15-50, 15-15 after the first quarter, and Grand Valley kind of just ran after that. I mean, I was keeping score at some point, what the score difference was following that, and it just got really, really out of control very quick. I'm going to leave you with one thing, Sangster. 28 turnovers for Wayne State. You're not going to win games like that. I'm sorry to say. And for the record, I didn't go out there expecting Wayne State to win this one. I could hope, but I can also be realistic and say Grand Valley is probably the best team in the country based on what I saw on the court. They forced a ton of turnovers. Wayne State gave up a bunch of unforced turnovers, kind of just threw the ball away a little bit in there. And Grand Valley did what they needed to do from the floor, which was shoot the ball pretty dang well. And that's the story.
Yeah, and the flip side of that is Wayne State didn't nearly force enough turnovers on their own. Grand Valley only had nine. Uh, One thing that Wayne State was able to do against Grand Valley, it held them to 9 for 30 from the 3-point line. That is a recipe for winning a lot of games. Unfortunately, just not against Grand Valley, where they just take a million shots almost. They take nearly double the amount of attempts uh, shooting wise that Wayne State does. They were 30 for 72, 41%. Okay, that's pretty good. Wayne State's percentage, 47.7. That's awesome. But they were 21 for 44 shooting all game. And on top of that, you're not getting to the line. Kind of expected at Grand Valley, but neither team really made it there that often. Wayne State was 6 for 9, Grand Valley 9 for 12. So a clean game played by both teams, but exactly what you said is that Grand Valley was forcing a bunch of turnovers against Wayne State, and at the same time, Wayne State made their unforced ones, just weren't able to get anything going.
And you know, if that's not even on top of that, Grand Valley missed a shot. Guess what? They got 18 offensive rebounds and they gave themselves 24 second chance points.
Yeah.
And like I said, we turned the ball over 28 times. Grand Valley got 26 points off of that. Just about everything that I would look for to say, capitalize on the opposing turnovers. Give yourself some second chance points. Don't turn the ball over a lot. Yeah, Grand Valley had 9 turnovers. They're a very good team. So you know, it is what it is. Rounding out the tournament really quick before we talk about the full season, Shea Tripp did get the all-tournament team nod. So she ended up being on the GLIAC all-tournament squad because in this game alone, she got 22 points. In the game against Parkside, she put up 22 points. So you're going to average yourself 22 points a game. You're probably going to get some all-conference nods. And then for the whole season, Sangster, we have some stuff to talk about for the women's basketball team.
Yep, Shea Tripp made all GLIAC first team, and Taylor Thompson made all GLIAC second team and the defensive team.
Yeah, it's pretty good stuff.
Yep.
And not a shock there. Shea Tripp's been pretty solid this season. And Taylor Thompson, I remember when we were talking to Carrie Lord before the season started, she mentioned Taylor Thompson's name a couple of times. Says she's probably one to keep an eye on just because, you know, the way that she plays the game is she's a good player. And I'm glad we have her on our team. And we will be back to talk about the women's basketball team. So we'll save a little bit of that, but we'll talk about the men's basketball team really quick. They were also in the GLIAC quarterfinals, doing a little bit better than last season. We weren't sweating out the last weekend, certainly not the last day of the regular season. They were out at Ferris State. Ferris State was taking on, they were the third seed, correct? And
Yes.
Wayne State was the sixth seed in this one.
Yep.
And I will say, Fair State won this one 77-65. This was not one of those, like if Wayne State won this game, they were in. I think Wayne State had to win 2 games in the GLIAC tournament to probably get in as the 8th seed. Would be my, it would feel comfortable to me. Now, granted, I say that, and again, we'll talk about the women's basketball team here. I don't know what the selection committee does. They might roll dice. I really don't know. But for me, it was they had to win 2 of the games, which means they had to go out to Fair State and win, and then they had to go up to it was at Northern Michigan. I think they were hosting the
Michigan Tech.
Michigan Tech. Thank you, not Northern. And they would have to go up there and win at least one of those games. So didn't really get to that point, but yeah, I honestly, what do you got on this one, Sangster? Because unfortunately, this is the only one we have to talk about for that team.
Right. It does kind of wrap up the year, but Wayne State played a good game against Ferris, and Ferris was just better. I'm trying to go back and remember. It just Wayne State did have their moments. It's kind of like that Parkside versus Wayne State on the women's side, kind of reverse the roles. Wayne State takes on that role of the underdog going against a higher seeded team on the road. Certainly, Wayne State had its moments. Wayne State had a couple leads in this game. There were 4 lead changes, 3 ties in the game. At one point, Wayne State led by 9 early in the second half of the game. And at the end of the day, it just felt like Wayne State shot pretty cold to begin with, and so did Ferris. Wayne State was 1 for 8 from 3, Ferris was 2 for 9. Uh, in the second half, they turned it on a little more, 6 for 14 as opposed to 5 for 10, 19-31 to. Ferris was able to get a lot more points, I think, in the paint in the second half, and I think it was a defensive breakdown that Wayne State had that at the end was their undoing. And I think we mentioned it on Twitter that the guard play that we've gotten from this team has been phenomenal
Yeah.
all year. And unfortunately, it's that big, that five in the
Yeah.
middle that ever since the departure, not only of Colin Golson, but of Matt Coffey as well, that they haven't been able to quite find their answer at that 5 spot.
Well, yeah, and the fact that Kareem hasn't really been playing much of the season, I hope we get him back. I hope he sticks around because he really could fill in a lot for this. Because yeah, I mean, Rob Lee Jr. puts up 31 points in this game.
Yeah.
Carmelo Harris puts up 14 points in this game. Guess where the big concern to me is not the fact that we didn't shoot the ball well. Like sure, Jordy Briggs went 1 for 10 from the field. When you look at the whole way of the team shot 33% from the field, roughly 32% from the three, I'm not going to really raise hell about that too much. When you look at the rebound difference, though, 29 rebounds for Wayne State, 44 for Ferris State. That screams to me that the bigs are just really not getting as much, getting the ball down from the rim as much as I would like it to. I'm just looking at the stats here, and we had a watch party at the field house for this one, funny enough. So we
Yep.
were watching a little bit of that one at the we watched the whole game, but it just and I'll continue to say it like the guard play was unbelievable this season. I mean, we didn't even mention the name John Brantley. John Brantley's had some really good games in there. Jordy Briggs has had some really good games in there. Even Ray Williams, he's had good games as a forward. Uh, but Carlos Paul at some point was playing the 5 position. I'm like, I don't think that's his position. I think he's doing that out of necessity. I don't think he's doing that because that's where he's best fit. I don't think that's where he's best fit.
Right. And at the end of the day, it was a second half onslaught for Ferris State, scoring 54 points to Wayne State's 39. Uh, it was a tough way to go, and props to the Bulldogs for, they defend their home court. They did not go on to win it. I think somebody beat somebody. I think they ended up playing Lake Superior State for no, Northern. It was Northern and Lake Superior State for the GLIAC championship. I believe that Lake State ended up winning that one. So it's tough. And especially because I like the way that we match up against Lake Superior State. It's been close games, both games this season. Last game of the season was a overtime loss by 2 points. So coulda, woulda, shoulda, but unfortunately, it's the end of the Wayne State season. Overall, I'd say it's a good season. We've seen progression. Now I think it's the most wins they've had since 2018 or so. Comfortable spot in the GLIAC tournament. It's all about taking that next step, being able to host, as we saw with the women's side, being able to host that first game makes a huge difference, and especially being able to put yourself maybe even a higher seed than number 4. Get number 2, there's always that chance that uh, you get to host more uh, of these GLIAC championship games.
Completely agreed. Now, I kind of want to get to the end because I know we got a lot more to talk about,
Yep.
but we're looking at a situation where we have Ray Williams Jr. and John Brantley, class wise, will be leading the team. I think they're both out of eligibility at this point, which
I
means the
don't.
rest
Well,
was that
I don't think they had John Brantley on senior day. He might be back.
I mean, he is listed as a graduate student, so I don't know his whole situation. Maybe
Oh,
he just didn't want to. I don't know there,
don't
but
know.
like,
We'll
but yeah,
see.
looking at class wise, we should have just about everybody back.
Yeah.
Again, with the exception of, Ray Williams is the big one. He played a lot of minutes in there. If we can get a 5, if we can either recruit a 5, we can make something happen, or we can get a transfer or whatever, and we can put Carlos Paul out at the 4 spot and let him be the power forward, kind of a little bit of more of a primary ball handler if Smothers and the coaches want to run that. We're not going to be looking at that much different of a team, and I think this team really could continue to grow where they have
Right.
if we can hold on to Rob Lee Jr. because man, he's he's something else right now.
Yeah.
If we can hold on to Mario Adley, if Carmelo Harris can stick around, all of these guys, if we can keep them around and we can just build the bigs, I think we could be looking at that, Sangster. I think we really could easily be, and I do say it knowing what I'm saying, we could easily be a top four team in the GLIAC, at least host one of the games and really threaten a little bit to be, top two, top three in the conference.
Yeah, and especially if you can develop that bench too. Look at this game that your starting five played almost all of the minutes. They basically never got a chance to sit
Yeah.
down. Compare that with Ferris, they have guys coming off the bench playing 25, 17, 20 minutes. That's going to be a big difference in a clutch
Right.
game like this. And it's not even for this game specifically, but if you win, having to move on and still having to play all those minutes. So another year under their belt. We never saw uh, Jacoby Boost, the true freshman on this team yet. So what can he do coming in a year under his belt as a redshirt freshman next year? It's going to be really exciting to see, I think.
Yep, exactly. So that's the wrap up on the men's basketball team, but the sport of basketball is not done yet. Second half, we'll be talking about the women's basketball team, but I will say a very exciting season from the men's basketball team. It was fun following them, and there's some seriously good players on this team. So we'll be back to them very soon, it feels like. I'm going to
Yep.
quickly run through some baseball stuff because they're going to really be the kind of the highlight of our, late March into April. So they're also down in Florida for the Russ Matt Invitational. Back on Thursday, they took on Ashland. Ashland won that one 9-7. Friday, Wayne State had a doubleheader against Point Park. Point Park was able to win game one there by a score of 4-2, and Wayne State came back and said, haha, that was funny, and won 12-6. Saturday, Wayne State takes on Malone, an old GLIAC rival. Wayne State won that one by just a tiny little score of 21-3. Monday, Wayne State takes on Wayne State College. Wayne State College was able to win that one 11-1. And then, as I mentioned, we're recording on Tuesday, March 11th. The game against Minnesota Mankato ended just a couple of minutes ago, it looks like. And Minnesota State Mankato is number 18 in the country, and they won that one 20-5. So a little bit of a rough finale there for the Wayne State baseball team, but they will still be down in Florida for a couple more games, and we'll talk about them here in the second half of this episode. What do we got on fencing, Sangster?
Well, we've had the NCAA Midwest Regionals in Granville, Ohio, home of started with a D, and I can't remember it right now. But had a pretty good showing for our
Denison.
Denison, yes. Had a pretty good showing. Mahmoud El Sayed finished third in the men's epi. On the women's side, Reika Galfalvi finished fifth in women's epi, and Ludovica Mancini finishes sixth in the women's foil. We got a little bit of a spoiler alert for you because it's not coming up right away. But for NCAA Nationals, Mahmoud El Sayed, Ethan Lung, Zayad Nofal, Reika Galfalvi, and Ludovica Mancini were selected to compete at the NCAA Nationals.
Yeah, and as far as I know, that one's hot off the presses because Wayne
Yep.
State Athletics has not put anything out about that. I just happened to see that the NCAA selection show for fencing nationals was going to be on today, March 11th, and we were able to find that. So
Boom.
props to them.
Yep.
We will absolutely get plenty of word out about that. We'll be watching them as they compete at nationals. So
Yep.
last but not least, thanks. We got softball. What do you got on softball?
Well, they've been at the NTC Spring Games in Claremont, Florida, and on Saturday they had games against two different schools: Ohio Dominican, former GLIAC opponent, and Wayne State College. Wayne State University beat Ohio Dominican 3-1. Unfortunately, they were defeated by Wayne State College 4-3. If you're keeping score, that is over on the Diamond Sports against Wayne State College in the 2025 season. Sunday versus they had games against Sioux Falls and Lake Erie College, another former GLIAC opponent. Wayne State swept this one. Wayne State beat Sioux Falls 10-9 and beat Lake Erie College 5-1. And lastly, today it's going on right now, some of it. Wayne State was facing Glenville State and Indiana University of Pennsylvania minus Ohio. Glenville State ended up winning 3-2, but right now we've still got a game going on against IUP.
Yeah, I'm following this one right now. It's top of the eighth. IUP is up to bat, and it's 5-5. So Wayne still have a chance there. And if you're following the records, we covered 6 games right there with the 6th game ongoing right now. If Wayne State, knock on wood, is able to close this one out over those 6 games, they're able to go 4-2. That would be sweet for some neutral site games, and especially for a team that we'll cover a little bit more about how they're trending versus last season. That would be big for them if they're able to close this one out and get the win. So, when we get to the second half of this episode, we'll come back to it if we have the finale of that game. But that's all we got, saying. So that's what's happened over the last week. Just
It was
a
a big
ton of
week.
sports. It was a lot. I'm kind of out of breath, to be honest with you. So,
A little
um,
lighter coming up next week.
a
Little bit.
little bit. That feels like that may have been the busiest week of the season. Pretty close. So, what we're going to do, we're going to take a quick break. We got a lot of Nationals talk coming up, like a lot of Nationals talk. A lot of our teams are doing some stuff. So we'll take a quick break and we'll be back to talk all about it. I need a refresher on my drink.
Oh yeah.
Herb. There.
Okily dokily.
Oh, lots of sports. All righty.
Let's go.
Let me get 2 links. Okay, I'm good. And we're back. As mentioned, a ton of Nationals talk coming up. A lot of our teams were able to make it to the Nationals of whatever sport they're in. So we're going to start out with them, Sangster. We got 3, if my counting is accurate.
It is.
Starting out, swimming and dive. To my knowledge, full teams do not get accepted to NCAA Nationals. It's individuals based on times or squads if they're in the relay event or what have you. So we have a number of athletes from the Wayne State men's and women's swimming and dive teams that were invited out to NCAA championship week. What do we got?
Oh, a lot. On the men's side, we've got 5 swimmers, 3 divers, and 3 relay alternates that were invited to the NCAA championships. It'll be hosted in the Indiana University Auditorium in Indianapolis. So it's going to be IU Indy, not Indiana Bloomington. Your swimmers and divers that were invited were redshirt freshman Gabriel Arias, freshman Olin Charnstrom, freshman William DeBro, uh, grad student Trevor Jones, and senior Clayton Kennard. It also looks like Julio Acuña, Max Wasiniak, and John Martin will be competing in some diving pre-qualifications. So they're going to do 6 dives on each of the boards, with the top 8 on each board are going to automatically qualify for championships. The also Wayne State men's swimming will also be competing in 3 of 5 relays: the 800 free, the 400 medley, and the 400 free. And that'll be a combination of Khalil Ben Ajmia, Lorenzo Tassinari, and Tomas Osorio are going to join the other swimmers that already were invited to compete in those races.
Well, the cool thing about that is there's a number of freshmen that you named in there. So, I mean, it's
It
another
is
one
a
of those
wild
like,
mix.
yeah, I mean, like we talk about as good as the swimming and dive teams, both teams, the men's and women's teams have been over
Yep.
the years. These are starring some freshmen
Yep.
right off the bat, and certainly some upperclassmen and all that. So I mean, good stuff for them. Over on the women's side, we got Barbara Munoz and Ali Vasilakos, who are going to be the 2 swimmers that the team is sending. Wen Wadsworth Krukeru and Alicia Viach Vachis. I really wish I would have looked up the name of her. But those are our 2 divers that we'll be sending. And then the team also has 2 alternates. Ellie Belmore and Emily Headley will be heading out as well. So quite a few athletes from this team, and well deserved too. I mean, this is one of the best teams in the GLIAC. I mean, we just talked about the men's team just shocked and finished second. The women's team, I believe, were fourth, if I'm not mistaken, in GLIAC, and a number of good teams in the GLIAC there. But it's just a really tough sport where to be able to have that much representation is very good. So best of luck to them. They're heading out. Yeah, I think it's Indianapolis University, if I'm not mistaken. So
Yep.
I really don't think it's Indiana University.
I think it's I think now it's IU. I think it's Indiana University, Indianapolis. I think it's IU Indy. They changed the name from, because I remember they broke off from IUPUI. That's
Yep.
what it used to be, and so they broke off into 2 separate schools now.
Yep, that is
Crazy.
correct. So
Yep.
So yes, good luck to the swimming and dive athletes as they head out to Indianapolis on the women's indoor track and field. It is also NCAA championship weekend. Reagan Justice was very close to being able to make it into nationals. Unfortunately, she didn't quite make it. So big shout out to her. A lot of fun. Also, a really good interview with her earlier on the season. However, Emily Gordon was selected, and I believe, if I'm not mistaken, she was selected for the 800 meter. Is that correct?
That is correct. She'll
Yes.
compete in the 800-meter prelims on March 14th. She's the first Wayne State runner to qualify in this specific event. And we've been talking about this. This program hasn't been around for that long in Wayne State history, considering that it goes back all the way to 1918. And even women's athletics, starting in the 70s and 80s. This is only the 13th year of this program. So to say that you've sent runners out to NCAA nationals without having an indoor facility for the specific event is for indoor track championships only. That's outstanding stuff for the program. And talking about a little why we aren't seeing Reagan Justice going, the NCAA selection committee took the top 18 in each individual event and the top 12 for each relay. So unfortunately, this year, even though winning the LEAC, winning numerous school records, Reagan Justice unfortunately was not in the top 18 to compete at nationals this year.
Yeah, it just probably shows some of those events has some seriously tough competition,
Yep.
even though she's out there setting school records. So,
Right.
really tough stuff there. But yes, best of luck to Emily Gordon as she represents the Wayne State indoor track and field team. And the last national sport going on right now, Sangster, that women's basketball team, the one that we've been talking about for quite some time now, they're at a record of 19 and 11 overall, 13 and 7 in conference play. Conference play is over. And as mentioned, they were able to make it to GLIAC semifinals. They were down by Grand Valley, who ended up winning. And they are the number one seed. Grand Valley is for the Midwest region, I believe is what the actual name of it is. Wayne State comes in as the 4 seed. So because of that, Wayne State heads out to Allendale, not to take on Grand Valley, but to take on Lewis. Grand Valley is hosting. Lewis is the 5 seed. I'm going to be honest with you. This is why I made a comment in the first half. I don't know what the selection committee was doing here. Lewis is 26-3.
They're
And
also number 17 in the country.
yeah, they are number 17 in the country. And against GLIAC teams, they were 5-1. And I believe that includes both of the Northern and Michigan Tech. So they've had a tough draw. I don't know how it is. I don't know why it is. I don't actually at this point care why it is, but like that seemed very weird to me when I looked up Lewis' record. I'm like, that seems a little bit weird. So again, when I made my comment earlier about if the men's basketball team wins 2 of the games, maybe they're considered for it, or maybe they're not. I don't know. Maybe they're throwing dice. But anyway, the Wayne State women's basketball team gets to take on Lewis. They have not played them this season, but yeah, this is a tough draw, and this is one of those that I actually don't have any stats written down on the team other than like I said, their overall record and how they fared against GLIAC teams, which is very well.
I did pull up their history against Wayne State, and mostly because I remember Lewis, they tend to play the men's team quite a bit. The men's teams
Yeah.
will play each other. Uh, I sort of remember these games that Wayne State has faced Lewis twice in the NCAA tournament, once in March of 2014 and again in March of 2015. In those 2 games, Wayne State is 1-1. They won the first one in March of 2014 in Springfield, Missouri, a little bit closer to Romeoville than I'd say that Allendale is. Wayne State won that game 87-80. Unfortunately, the next year in 2015, which I'm pretty sure I remember streaming this game, Wayne State had to go all the way to Houghton. So did Lewis. Lewis ended up winning that game 71-63. But yeah, it's going to be a tough draw for Wayne State. This is a top 25 team who doing really well in, I believe they're in the GLVC. So it's a big ask for Wayne State, and especially going to uh, Allendale, where yeah, you're not playing Grand Valley there, but you might as well be playing Grand Valley there because you're going to be going against an extremely good team in an environment that Wayne State hasn't exactly had the most success at.
Yeah, that is very true. And you mentioned Grand Valley. They are hosting this one. Grand Valley is the number 1 seed. They take on Quincy. So the winner of Grand Valley versus Quincy takes on the winner of Wayne State Lewis on Saturday. So that's going to be the round 2 game there. Really, really tough draw. I mean, props to Wayne State for making it.
Yeah.
We're in the tournament now. This is postseason. I mean, it's one of those cliche things to say that like whatever happened in the season doesn't matter. You're going up against a team that has not played at Grand Valley this season. It's a little bit of a familiar environment for you. I don't know if it's that much closer at the end of the day, but this is what you wanted. This is what you asked for. This is why you played the whole season the way that you did. You just wanted to make sure that you could get into the tournament and give yourself a shot. This is when you make it happen, Sangster.
Yeah, and we kind of know that even if Wayne State wins this game, I'm going to go out and say that I really want Wayne State to win this game. Real hot take, I know.
Yeah,
But
real hot take, man.
yeah,
Watch it next time.
we're going to assume for the moment that Grand Valley is going to win. At this point, you've seen Grand Valley twice this season. You know what they're about. You know what they're going to do. You've come close against them before. Not this season. It was last season, but it was in their place. You're telling me there's a chance that there's got to be something there uh, that Wayne State can do. I did pull up Lewis's stats real quick. Like you said, they're 26-3. I'm pretty sure they won their conference 19-1. I don't see who would be better than that. Maybe they must have lost their conference tournament. I didn't look that deep into it.
I
Uh,
think they did. I think they
yeah.
did.
Gotcha. That might be why they're the fifth seed. They average roughly 68 points a game. They hold their opponents to 57 points a game, scoring margin about 11 points. Field goals percentage, they're about 43% from the field, 32% from three. That's an interesting one. That might be something that Wayne State can look into. They make about 6 3-pointers per game. Free throws probably above average. They're about 75%, and they make about 12 per game. Rebounding, 1,000 total rebounds. Turnovers, they average about 14 turnovers per game. Their opponents average about 15.6. So it sounds like they're going to be, getting in there, forcing turnovers as opposed to just letting the opponents make their mistakes. So it's again something that Wayne State's going to have to watch out for, especially coming off of that game against Grand Valley. That Yeah, Grand Valley forced some stuff and he gave up some unforced
Right.
errors. So all in all, a good team that Wayne State's going to be facing, but the statistics would say that it's something that Wayne State can beat. I'm also looking at those last thing, looking at those GLIAC games that they played. So the one team that Lewis lost against from the GLIAC was Northern. They lost 53 to 48. The other uh, GLIAC teams, it was Michigan Tech. They beat them 68-57. Purdue Northwest, they beat them 66-49. And Parkside, who Wayne State just beat, Lewis beat them 68 to 61. So mm, there's something there. I think that Wayne State definitely has a chance against these guys. Maybe again, it's the GLVC. I don't know how the GLVC stacks up nationally, but that is what Lewis is bringing to the table here.
Yeah, and I'll say we're fresh off a game against
Grand Valley.
prove until you prove me otherwise, the best team in the country. I really do think they are the best team in the country. What I
Yep.
saw on the court, live in person in the field house with very, very uncomfortable wooden bleachers, was a very good team. And you go against the really great teams because you want to make yourself better. You want to see the best. That way, when you go up against Lewis, call them out. They're the next team on the schedule. You
Yep.
feel much more comfortable about them. They are not going to be as handsy. They are not going to be as forcey. They're not going to do things the way that Grand Valley does. Rankings say that that's the case. So that doesn't mean they're not going to be a tough draw. I think they're a very tough draw. I think it's unfair to put them at a 5 seed based on what the stats are saying, but it is what it is. That's who we get to face. So we will be out there, Sangster, Friday, 7:30 p.m. out in Allendale. Wayne State women's basketball team taking on Lewis. And again, if they win, hopefully, as we say, when they win, Saturday will be the round 2 game right out there in Allendale. So that's what we got there. Again, really quick on baseball. I kind of want to get through it a little bit because they're going to be the focus here pretty soon. Our baseball team is currently at an overall record of 6-8. Have not had any conference games yet. At this point in the season, they're a little bit behind where they were last season, but that could change very quickly. They are continuing on with the Russ Matt Invitational on on Wednesday, March 12th. Wait, no, that one already happened. The Minnesota State, they are taking them on again tomorrow, March 12th. So they got one more there. And then on Friday and Saturday, they have two doubleheaders there, one against Minnesota Duluth,
And
and
the other
another
against.
one against Minnesota Duluth.
Yep.
So
4 games, two double headers against the same team.
yeah, lots of chances there. And is that part of the Russ Matt Invitational, or
I
is that
believe it
separate?
is.
Okay.
I could be wrong.
So just an
It's
agreement
down
to
in Florida, I know. Yeah.
yep. So good stuff for them. But again, I mean, this record could turn around very quickly. This is generally a team that, much like our tennis teams, take on some high quality, highly ranked teams early on in the season. So when conference play rolls around, we are very comfortable. We've gone against some very good teams and have a lot of experience. So that's what we got on baseball. And then on softball, they're also 6-8. At this point last season, they were 7-7, but then the softball team went on a 1-6 streak. So we're hoping at this point, it's a little bit of a different twist at this point in the season. There's a really good chance for the softball team coming up here. The NTC spring games continue on. On Wednesday, March 12th, they take on both Winona State and Shepherd. On Friday, March 14th, they take on Hillsdale and Slippery Rock, two Midwest teams. And then on Saturday, closing out, I believe that closes out the NTC Spring Games. They take on St. Michael's and Emporia State. So, and then one quick note there is we were talking about the in the last section of this episode, we were talking about the last games. The game against IUP was still ongoing. That has finalized, and Wayne State won that one in walk-off fashion. So over the last 6 games at the NTC Spring Games, the softball team is 4-2. If that continues on, this is looking like a team much like the men's basketball team is really trending upwards. So that's what we're hoping for there, Sangster.
So does that mean softball is 7-8 now?
Softball is currently 7-8. Yep.
Let's go. I'll take it.
Closing in on that 500 record.
Yep. That's a big step. And especially if they can keep, like you said, keep it going in these NTC spring games, there's a real big chance that Wayne State comes much more out ahead than they did last season.
And really quick note there, based on what I just saw on the score sheet, IUP was 7-2. So I don't know who they played, but guess what? They won 7 of their 9 games. That is a very good team. So that's what we got on that one. And now tennis. What do we got, Spencer?
Oh, we got women's tennis coming up right now. They are 2-3, and they have not started GLIAC play yet. Unfortunately, they went 0-3 on the Florida trip, and it doesn't really change the fact that we need to handle our business in conference play, which starts now, Saturday, March 15th. They've got a home match, maybe in the Duchesne building, maybe outside. We'll see what the weather looks like. It might be nice. Home match against Saginaw Valley. GLIAC play begins now.
Yeah, sign me up. Are you ready for this, Sangster? I know you're sitting down because we're doing a podcast right now. We don't do this one standing up. We're 30. On Saturday, it's going to be 70 degrees in Detroit. Granted, that does say AM showers and wind. It could be very, very windy, but if for whatever reason we have the windscreens, if we can get the rain, the storms, and all that out of there, we very well might be looking at an outdoor tennis match. So
it is a 2:00 match. Those storms might be gone.
It's possible. We can hope for it because it's really cool. I'm very excited to see. I've heard a lot about the outdoor tennis courts are going to continue to get more and more attention, continue building them up, really make it a cool atmosphere with 6 courts, by the way, which is awesome because the indoor facility only has 4. And pickleball. Yeah, there are, I believe, 1 or 2 pickleball courts there. So yeah, that's what we got on that, and you're spot on. I mean, we go against the number 1 team, we go against the number 2 team, we take on all of these tough teams down in Florida. That way, like last season, Wayne State women's tennis, they went 7-0 if I'm not mistaken. The year before that, they went 6-1 in conference play. We do all of that to make them much more comfortable, give them the experience against the best of the best in tennis. That way, they come back. You go against Saginaw Valley expecting to win. You go against Grand Valley expecting to win. I think they really drive that home with these teams, and that's a fantastic thing to see.
Absolutely. And no, just notice one thing: no men's tennis this weekend.
No, they need a break. They've played a lot
for all the matches they had. No tennis this week, or men's tennis this week. So break for them. And last but not least, we have a new sport entering the chat. Golf. It is that time of year. Daylight savings time has happened. It is officially golf season now. Starting out with the men's golf team, they are headed out to Pawleys Island Beach Bash in South Carolina on Wednesday, March 12th through Thursday the 13th in an event hosted by Ohio Dominican. Ohio University hosting an event out in South Carolina. Okay. But
don't understand how that works.
But sign me up for how you do that. But that's what's happening.
Yep. So that's a really cool one. Interesting enough, the women's golf team is also heading out to South Carolina in an event hosted by the University of South Carolina, Beaufort. This is the Oldfield Intercollegiate event. This is happening on Monday, March 17th to 18th. So 2 really cool events there. And when golf comes around and they're getting out and they're starting to hit their season, much like when daylight savings time hits, much like for me, when the calendar turns to March, this is when like things just start to feel better. And of course, as we talked about, the weather got a lot nicer. All of a sudden, it just started to decide to be 60 and sunny every day. So very excited about that. But with March, Sangster, one of the cool, I'll say it, in my opinion, it is the coolest postseason event in any sport of any kind. Nothing to me tops March Madness. It is that cool. It is that much fun. That those first 4 days of March Madness are absolutely fantastic, and we get in on the action too. And we also like when others get in on the action because we do our bracket challenge.
Yep, we'll have that coming up. We'll post some details, maybe post a password or a challenge question of some kind, because sometimes we get some randoms coming into to our bracket challenge. But all that listen, all Wayne State fans are invited. We'll let you know how to join that. And we've also got something almost as fun coming up, the Warrior House Bar Madness. I think this is probably year 4. I think we started in 2021 coming up. So if you want to support your favorite Wayne State bar, help us give them a little nice little certificate that we print out for them. Keep your eye out posted for that. We'll be posting details on how to vote. Usually we do it by both uh, Twitter and Instagram stories. We'll have a bracket made up soon enough.
Yeah, and shout out Lexington Bar. They still
Yeah,
display the award because I think they were from 2 years ago, if I'm not mistaken.
that's
They
correct.
still have the award up on the bar, and every time we go in there, it's sitting right up there by the door, behind a bunch of bottles. Really cool. I absolutely love them. I don't get there as often as I'd like to, but
Same
previously we had the Old Miami one. We had
last year. Yep.
yeah, Old Miami won it last year. At one point, Bronx won it.
Bronx won it the first year.
Yep, that's right. So yeah, a really cool event. I actually really like that one. And I always also love when a lot of the bars get involved and they share the stories out like Lexington did. That really helped them out. So, and they're
Yep.
just fantastic people
Miami
to
does
run
too.
that
Yeah,
place.
they're big on the social media.
Yeah, so excited to bring that one back. We'll be getting that one out there. But with that, Sangster, it's March. It's a fantastic month. We're having a blast here. We're in the thick of a lot of cool events going on, and we're traveling out to a lot of stuff as we did last weekend and as we will this weekend. But now it's time to say goodbye to all of our fine friends out in podcast land and YouTube live land if you're watching. So, with that, we appreciate everybody listening in on episode 91 of the Warrior House podcast.
And remember, it's always a great day to be a Wayne State Warrior.